So for both of you that period usually spoils you for you, well, now you know there's something that's created to solve your problem. What's up, beautiful people? Welcome to another exciting episode of Health Savvy with Dr. O, you already know. And today we're going to be discussing something very, very interesting, something that a lot of people probably have never thought about before, because I see that a lot of women, all they just know when it comes to having their period is sanitary towel, sanitary towel, sanitary towel. Like life begins and ends at sanitary towel or sanitary pad. You know, there's actually more things that you could use for your period apart from a sanitary pad. Yeah, I know sanitary pad is probably like the easiest to use, or one of the easiest to use, and one of the cheapest and most affordable. So maybe that's why it's really popular. But for women that don't really like it, because I know a lot of women actually dread using sanitary pads. In fact, that's like the worst part of their periods, because sanitary pads can be so uncomfortable. Like they remind you constantly that you're on your period, right? When you go to use the bathroom, yeah, the sanitary pad is there staring at you and all that. And sometimes, you know, because of maybe the nature of underwear you use, sometimes there's that side leaks that happen that could get you stained, and that's like really embarrassing for a lot of people. If you're one of those people that maybe you're not a very big fan of using sanitary pads, I have good news for you. There's actually other things you can use. So the first alternative I'm going to be talking about to sanitary pad is called a tampon. And luckily I have one here with me. Actually, I have a couple. So basically a tampon is a sanitary product that you can use, an alternative to a sanitary pad. It's absorbent as well, so it absorbs menstrual blood, right? But the difference between this and a sanitary pad is that unlike a sanitary pad where you stick on your underwear, for a tampon you insert it into your private parts. Yeah, so it's a little bit more complicated than using a sanitary pad, and it requires a high level of hygiene. Like you literally have to always wash your hands before using this. If not, you can introduce infections, right? I talked more about tampons in my other videos, so go and watch my video on how to use a tampon if you want to know everything about tampons. I'm just going to give you a brief overview here that there are two types of tampons. There's one that comes with an applicator. So this is a tampon with an applicator. This applicator helps you to insert the tampon into your private parts, and this is for people that are really beginners and don't really know how to insert a tampon or feel some kind of way about having to do that, right? And this one is just a tampon without an applicator, basically. So you just take this one and use your finger, hold it in your finger like this, in your hands like this, and you insert it into your private part. I'm not going to describe how to insert it or to use it. Like I said, just watch my other video for that. But it has this safety string, so that this is what you use to pull out the tampon when you are done. So basically, when you want to remove it, you just tug on the string and gently pull it out from your private parts. Now, what are the downsides of this tampon? Downsides is that unlike a sanitary pad where you can see it when it's soaked, this one you can't see it. It's invisible, right? So except you have camera inside your private part, there's no way you can see this. So basically, you don't know when it's soaked, and if you don't change it when it gets soaked, then it will overflow and then you get stained. That would be really bad. So a good rule of thumb when you're using this is change at least 4 hours, every 4 hours, depending on your flow. Like just adjust it to your flow. When you start using it, you realize the amount of time that works best for you. Another downside of using a tampon is that there are high risk for something that we call toxic shock syndrome, right? This is like a rare but life-threatening infection that is usually caused by bacteria, mainly Staphylococcus aureus bacteria. People that use tampons are actually at a higher risk of getting this because tampons, they're so comfortable. One of the benefits of it is that it's so comfortable. When you use it, if you place it properly, you would forget that it is there. So just imagine that you put a tampon in and you forgot it was there, and your period is like maybe the last day of your period and it's not so heavy, maybe just like it, and you put it and you forgot it was there and you left it there for a week, 2 weeks. That's when you're at risk of toxic shock syndrome, because bacteria from the tampon can now spread to the rest of the body and it can be really life-threatening. So basically the recommendation is don't use a tampon for more than 8 hours. By the time you're using it for more than 8 hours, you're at risk of toxic shock syndrome. Another good thing about a tampon is you can wear it when you are swimming, right? This one, you can wear it because it's invisible. You can wear it when you're swimming. There's not going to be any leaking or anything like that. So unlike periods, sanitary pads where you can't swim with them, this one you can definitely swim. And the good thing is, for those of you that like really fancy underwear that most sanitary pads don't work with this one you can wear any underwear. Guess what? You can even decide to wear no underwear if you are team military, or what do they call that? I don't even remember. You can actually choose to wear no underwear when you're using a tampon. So you see, the benefits are limitless. There is life after sanitary pad. The other alternative to using a sanitary pad is something called a menstrual cup. And this is pretty much what it looks like. So it's this silicone-like material. What this does is you pretty much insert it into your private part like the same way you would insert a tampon, but you can see that it's quite big, right? So I have another video where I talked about how to use a menstrual cup. Like I talk about the different sizes. I talked about a lot of other things about it. So go watch that video. I'm not going to dwell on this because I talked about this already. So basically, if you want to wear it, you just have to like fold it into two first and then fold it into another half and then insert it, right? Watch my video to now to insert it. So the idea is that this cup basically sits just below the cervix, so it just fits right there. The cervix is your neck of the womb, so it's the entrance to your womb, and it just sits right there. So basically, as the menstrual blood is coming out from your womb, it's collecting right in here. So you can see that the inside is not absorbent or anything like that, like a sanitary pad. Nothing is being absorbed. It's basically like collecting water in a cup, right? It's going to be there. This cup is reusable, unlike tampon and sanitary pad that you throw it away when you're done using it. This one is not disposable, it's reusable, so you can use it and use it and use it, and you can use it for up to 5 years. How about that? Good thing about this is when you wear it, you can wear it for up to 12 hours. Yes, it can actually collect your blood for up to 12 hours without getting full. So that's one of the good things about this. For example, if you have something doing where you're going to be busy the whole day and you can't do frequent changes, this will be ideal for you. Even if you have a heavy flow, this is actually ideal for you. So the downside to this is that putting it in, inserting it can be really difficult. Imagine trying to put this in and then making sure that it stays the right way when it's inside. It's just a lot of stress if you ask me. And then besides that, putting it can be messy. First of all, you're already on your period when you're trying to put it. There's nothing absorbing. You're just trying to put it, and then when you now want to remove it, this is the tip that you used to pull it out. You now have to be careful because remember, you're carrying a cup of menstrual blood. If you don't remove it carefully, it can actually spill your menstrual blood and just make a hot mess, which is exactly what we don't want. So that's another downside of this menstrual cup. Then again, when you are using it, you have to sterilize it before your very first use, and I recommend even after each use, right? So buy a couple like 1, 2, 3, so you can sterilize it in between uses. But if you're not able to sterilize, you can just pour away the menstrual blood and then wash with soap and warm water and put it back. But it's highly recommended that you sterilize it. And I talked about how to sterilize it in my other video, so go watch that video. Another good thing about this is that it's very comfortable. If you insert it properly, you also forget that it's there. Next thing I want to talk about is a menstrual disc. Pretty similar to the menstrual cup, but a bit different. You see the picture somewhere up here. It's like a ring-like disc with a shallow bottom. So basically, this one does the same thing a menstrual cup does. It collects the menstrual blood, right? But the only difference is that this one is shallower, so which means you probably have to do more frequent changes. And this is disposable, so you cannot reuse it. Once you use it, you throw it away and replace it with another one. You insert it in pretty much the same way as you insert a menstrual cup. You have to fold the ring to fit into the vagina and then place it so that it sits right below the cervix. I'll talk about that in another video, so that's not, today is not for talking about how to wear it. Today is just letting you know what it actually is. So one of the pros of this one, which I'm sure a lot of you will like, is that when you're wearing this one, apart from the fact that obviously you can use any type of underwear just like in a tampon or in a menstrual cup, but one thing that the manufacturer says that you can actually have intercourse while you're on this. So basically you can have intercourse and your partner won't even know that you're on your period. None of you will feel the menstrual disc there, so it will pretty much be like you are not on your period and nothing ever happened. So for both of you that period usually spoils you for you, well, now you know there's something that's created to solve your problem. The downside to this menstrual disc is that unlike all the other alternatives, this one is a bit expensive, and most of the expensive ones are at least reusable, like the menstrual cup, but this one is disposable. So it's expensive and it's not reusable. So it's like, do I really want this? And then the whole inserting it and removing it can also be difficult. So do you want to deal with that? It's up to you. Well, I mean, for being able to have intercourse with your partner while you're on your period, if you're a fan of that and you don't want anything messy, the price might actually be worth it. Who knows? I was actually telling someone about all these alternatives, and they were asking like, hey, this one hope is not going to get stuck, hope it won't get stuck, hope I won't need to go to the hospital to remove it. Oh, please, all these things, they are totally removable. They will not travel anywhere else in your body, they will not get lost in your private part, so fear not, right? They are removable. Just make sure you use them the right way and you'll be okay. So I have two more alternatives that I want to talk about. These ones are pretty similar to the sanitary pad that you are used to already, the sanitary pad that you love so much. The first one I'm going to talk about is the period panties or the period underwear. So this one is just exactly like it's described, period panties. So it's a pants, but it has very, very absorbent material. So it's like an inbuilt sanitary pad, right? So, but you're wearing a pants. So basically it absorbs all the menstrual blood and it's reusable. So it's not something that you throw away. So when you wear it, you're supposed to wash it and then use it again. But this one is a bit, it's kind of yucky. Yeah, I mean, washing menstrual blood all over again, like, but I mean, for people that care about the environment, want to save the earth, and think that disposing sanitary pads can harmful to the environment, yeah, then this is a suitable option or alternative to using a sanitary pad or a sanitary towel, right? The good thing about it is that it's reusable, it's washable. You might need a couple of pairs, right, during your period, right, because you need to change, you need to do frequent changes, and you need to have like maybe 2-3 in a day. So yeah, that's where cost comes in. It might be expensive having to buy multiple, but on the long run it might be cost effective because you're going to reuse it for at least up to 2 years, just like how you use your regular underwear, maybe a year, 2, 6 months, it depends on you, but it's reusable. So if that works for you, you might want to consider it. So the next one I want to talk about is the reusable cloth pads. So this reusable cloth pads is exactly like sanitary pad, but instead of it being disposable, it's reusable and it's cloth. And instead of it sticking, it has this I've forgotten what they call this thing. This kind of button snap things where you can just snap it together. So you put it and you snap it onto your pants. You snap it close, right? There's going to be a picture somewhere up here so you can see it. So basically, it also absorbs very well. It works exactly like a sanitary pad, and you need to change it frequently as well. But the difference is that it's reusable, right? So you have to wash it again. I'm not a big fan of washing anything that has to do with that much menstrual blood, but yeah, I'm sure washing it can be such a drag. But if that works for you, that's okay. So the good thing about it is that it's reusable. It may be expensive initially, but on the long run it's cost effective. And the bad part is that washing it is going to be a total mess. So let me know, which of these other alternatives would you be considering? Is it the tampons? Is it the menstrual cup? Is it the menstrual disc? Is it the reusable cloth pads or the period panties? Let me know which one works for you. Which one will you actually be considering? Or after hearing all that I've said, would you rather stick to your sanitary pad? I'm like, I just can't deal with all these, right? Let me know what you think in the comment section down below. If you are not subscribed yet, please click the subscribe button below and share this video with someone that you think needs to see this. Always remember, a healthy you is a happy you. See you next week.